Hello guys, welcome to my channel once again, Nana Matrix, where research is simplified and interest awakened. In today's video, we'll be looking at how to write a good research methodology. Hey, but before that, if you haven't watched our previous video on research methodology in thesis and dissertation, where we discuss and address the most common challenges and problems surrounding research methodology, then I strongly recommend that you check out on those videos following the link below this video so that you can grab the necessary foundation in order to be built on by today's video. Having said that, quickly grab a cup of coffee, your pen and paper as usual, and let's zoom into today's episode. Great. How to write a good research methodology. In your thesis or dissertation, you will have to discuss the method deployed in your research. As such, the methodology chapter explains what you did and how you did it, allowing readers to evaluate the reliability and validity of the research. Therefore, the methodology chapter should include the following. 1. The type of research you did. 2. How you collected your data. 3. How you analyze your data. 4. Any tools or materials you use in the research. And lastly, the rationale for choosing these or those methods. It is to be noted that the methodology section should generally be written in the past tense. Now, comparing to the foundation laid in our previous video, research methodology in thesis and dissertation, now let me run you quickly through the 4 main steps to writing a good research methodology. Step 1. Explain your methodological approach. Begin by introducing your overall approach to the research. What research problem or question did you investigate? For example, did you aim to systematically describe the characteristics of something, to explore and research topic, or to establish cause and effect relationship? And what type of data did you need to achieve this aim? 1. Did you need quantitative data expressed in numbers or qualitative data expressed in words? 2. Did you need to collect primary data yourself, or did you use secondary data that was collected by someone else? 3. Did you gather experimental data by controlling and manipulating variables, or descriptive data by gathering observation without intervening? Hear this. Depending on your discipline and approach, you might also begin with a discussion of the rationale and assumption underpinning your methodology. As such, you should be able to answer the following question. 1. Why is the most suitable approach to answering your research question? 2. Is this a standard methodology in your field, or does it require justification? 3. Were there any ethical or philosophical consideration? 4. What are the criteria for validity and reliability in this type of research? For example, in a quantitative experimental study, you might aim to produce generalizable knowledge about the causes of a phenomenon. As such, valid research requires a careful design study under controlled conditions that can be replicated by other researchers. On the other hand, in a qualitative ethnography, you might aim to produce a contextual real-world knowledge about behavior and social structures and shared beliefs of a specific group of people. As this methodology is less controlled and more interpretive, You will need to reflect on your position as a researcher, taking into account how your participation and perception might have influenced the results. Step 2. Describe your method of data collection. Now, once you have introduced your overall methodological approach, you should give full details of your data collection method. Under quantitative method, for valid generalizability of results, you should describe your method in enough detail for another researcher to replicate your study as mentioned earlier on. As such, explain how you operationalize concepts and measured your variables, your sampling method or inclusion or exclusion criteria, and any tools, procedure, and material you use to gather the data. Now, a typical example or type of quantitative method of data collection is survey. Now, using survey, for instance, you should describe where, when, and how the survey was conducted. In view of that, you should be able to answer the following question. 1. How did you design the question? What form did they take? Example, were they multiple choice or Likert scale? 2. What sampling method did you use to select participants? 3. Did you conduct survey by phone, mail, online, or in person? And how long did participants have to take to respond to the question? The next one is, what was the sample size and the response rate? Let me be quick to note here that you might want to include the full questionnaire as an appendix so that your reader can exactly see what data was collected. Okay, now let me give you a vivid example of a description to a data collection method, specifically a quantitative data collection method using survey. Let's check it out. Here, it is evident that everything that was made mention of is captured here. For example, the survey consisted of 5 multiple choice questions and 10 questions that were measured on a 7-point Likert scale. The aim was to conduct the survey with 350 customers of Walmart shopping mall on the company premises from 4 to 8 April 2020 between 11 and 15 o'clock. Customer was defined as a person who have purchased a product from Walmart on the day of questioning. Participants were given 10 minutes to fill in the survey anonymously, and 6 to 8 customers responded. Because not all surveys were fully completed, 471 survey results were included in analysis. In the nutshell, it is evident from this example that every question that was being raised has been fully and well addressed in this write-up. Good. In the same vein, in a qualitative research, since methods are more often flexible and subjective, it's important to reflect on the approach you took and explain the choices you made. As such, discuss the criteria you used to select participants or sources, the context in which the research was conducted, and the role you played in collecting the data. For example, were you an active participant or a passive observer? A vivid example of a qualitative data method of collection is the interview or focus group. Here, for instance, using an interview, you should describe where, when, and how the interview were conducted. And as such, you should be able to address the following question. 1. How did you find and select participants? 2. How many people took part? 3. What form did the interview take? Was it a structured, semi-structured, or unstructured? And the last one is, how long was the interview and how were they recorded? Now let's check out a vivid example of a drafted qualitative method of data collection. It is evident also here that every question that was itemized above has also been addressed in this write-up. Thus, it answers the question of how participants were selected and found, how many people took part in it, and the form which the interview took place, and how long or the duration of the interview, and how it was recorded or filmed. Okay, so basically this is also a vivid example of a qualitative method of data collection description. Before we proceed to our next step, I want to emphasize that similar approach is used when you deal with other sources or form of data collection method, such as existing data, which are mainly secondary data. Thus, you explain how you gathered and selected material, such as publication or archival data, for inclusion in your analysis. Also, it should answer where you sourced the material from, how the data was originally produced, and the criteria you used to select the material. Example, the date of the material. The next step to writing a good research methodology is to describe your method of analysis. Here you indicate how you processed and analyzed the data. Thus, avoid going into much details. Therefore, you should not start presenting or discussing any of your results at this stage. For instance, under quantitative methods, your analysis will be based on numbers, and as such, in the method section, you should include 1. How you prepare data before analyzing it. Example, checking for missing data, removing outlines, or transforming variables. 2. Which software you use to analyze the data. For example, did you use SPSS, Stata, or specifically eViews? The next one is, which statistical test did you use? Example, was it a two-tailed t-test, simple linear regression, and the other likes. Now let me show you a vivid example of how a quantitative method of data analysis looks like. Before analysis, the gathered data was prepared. The data set was checked for missing data and outlier. For this, the outlier labeling rule was used. All values outside the calculated range were considered outliers. That is Hogan or the reference to that list camp. The data was then analyzed using statistical software SPSS. So in short, this is a vivid example of how to describe your method of data analysis, capturing the preparation, the software, and the statistical test that was deployed. On the other hand, in a qualitative research, your analysis will be based on language, images, and observation, often involving some form of textual analysis. That specific method might include 1. Content analysis, 2. Thematic analysis, and the last but not least, discourse analysis, which these forms of analysis have been thoroughly explained in our previous video on research methodology in thesis and dissertation. And as such, I recommend you to check it out if you find yourself lost as it stands now, so that you can get a better understanding of this analysis, being content analysis, thematic analysis, and the discourse analysis. Now let me show you a vivid example of a qualitative method of data analysis description. So it reads, the interviews were transcribed and thematic analysis was conducted. This involved coding all the data before identifying and reviewing 6 key themes. Each theme was examined to gain understanding of participant perception and motivation. So in the nutshell, this is how a qualitative method of data analysis description basically looks like. Finally, our final step to writing a good research methodology is to evaluate and justify your methodological choices. As such, your methodology should make the case for you why you chose this particular method, especially if you did not take the most standard approach to your topic. Thus, discuss why other methods were not suitable for your objective and show how this approach contributes to new knowledge or understanding. Similarly, you can acknowledge limitations or weaknesses in the approach you chose, but justify why these were outweighed by the strengths. To illustrate are below. Under quantitative, it can be captured. Lab-based experiments can't always accurately simulate real-life situations and behaviors, but they are effective for testing causal relationship between variables. On the other hand, under qualitative, it can also be captured or written this way. Unstructured interviews usually produce results that cannot be generalized beyond the sample group, but they provide a more in-depth understanding of participant perception, motivation, and emotion. Now, let me be quick to note here that your methodology can be strengthened by reference to existing research in the field. That is either to confirm that you follow established practices for this type of research, or to discuss how you evaluated different methodologies and decided on your approach, or lastly, to show that you took a novel methodological approach to address a gap in literature. In conclusion, I want to remark that always remember that your aim is not to describe your methods, but to show how and why you applied them and to demonstrate that your research was rigorously conducted. Again, the methodology session should clearly show why your method suits objective and convince the reader that you chose the best possible approach to answering your problem statement and research question. Throughout the session, relate your choice back to the central purpose of your dissertation. And this brings us to the end of today's video. Thank you so much for your time. Once again, don't forget to like and subscribe to the page. Click on the notification bell to get alert for all subsequent equally important episodes which we have packaged and prepared for you, and very soon we will be releasing them. And unless I forget, don't also hesitate to write or put down your questions, your remarks, your recommendations or suggestions in the comment box below this video. Thank you so much for your time and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.